Ready to the Sooner or Later podcast. I'm Mitchell. This is my co-host Chad. Today we're going to break down the 2020 NFL schedule. First, we're going to give you a little introduction on why we think we know something about sports and why you should listen. I am a big stats guy. I do a lot of daily fantasy sports. I've won $100,000 on daily fantasy. I write articles for a website called Win Daily for daily fantasy. We literally have group messages with tons of people, literally just talking about sports.
I'm Chad. I'm a high school football coach here in Minnesota at a little school called Brandon Evansville. It's a little 9-man school. This will be my first year this coming fall. Will be my 7th year of coaching overall. I'm a diehard Vikings fan. It's been pretty much from day one of my life. The Vikings have been what I do every Sunday, every Monday, whatever you want to call it. They're a huge part of my life. I write for a website called Vikings Central. If you want to know more about my story and how I got involved with the Vikings and into coaching, there's an article on there. Please go ahead and check it out. Overall, like Mitchell said, we're just doing this podcast to have a good time, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. And I'm just looking forward to giving you guys good content, and we'll see where this takes us.
Why don't you tell us a little about your Gopher stuff too, and with Coach Kill and PJ both. Just kind of tell people what you've done there, how you got involved, and you have a picture with PJ on the field, so why don't you give him a little background info story on that?
Yeah, I've been very fortunate in my life to know a lot of really cool people and a lot of people who were willing to help me and guide me in my goals of becoming a football coach at some point. Actually, I lost my dad a few years ago, and after that happened, PJ Fleck became the head coach at Minnesota. And I know somebody who knows somebody who hired PJ Fleck, or helped hire PJ Fleck, who got me in touch with him, and really, PJ just took me under his wing from day one. Told me, I went to practice the first day, and he told me, if you keep coming here, we'll give you stuff to do. And he did not disappoint me. I drove 2.5 hours every day, pretty much all spring, just to go down there and help him out. He gives me little things to look at during practice. Watch film with former offensive coordinator, now the offensive coordinator at Penn State, Kurt Chiraka. He really helped me along in my offensive development. But I've been so fortunate to be involved with the University of Minnesota. It really is an elite place, as they would call it. So I've been very fortunate to get to do that kind of stuff.
Well, now that they know a little something about us, let's jump into the schedule. And, we have to jump right into a big game, week 1. We square off against Green Bay, the Packers, week 1 at home. I think it's a win at home for us. I know we're young, but at the same time, Rodgers really only has Devontae still. They got Funchess, not a huge deal, I don't think. They lost Graham. The first two picks in the draft were a backup QB and probably a backup running back. So I like that one for a win at home for us.
Yeah, I think about this, and when I look at the schedule every year, I think to myself, there's 2 places I look right away. It's who do we start against, who do we end it against. And we heard this maybe earlier in the afternoon today that Green Bay was going to be the kickoff. And that immediately tells you we got to be up, ready to go day one, regardless of how young we are, regardless of anything. We got to be up and ready to go. The nice thing, like you said, is it's at home. We've had good success against the Packers over the last few years.
Especially at home.
And Kirk's had some big games against the Packers. I don't see any reason why that can't continue. Who knows what kind of drama is in Green Bay. I think you're right on a W taking place in the first week.
Really, the NFL didn't mess around at all week 1. You got Tom facing off against Drew at 3:25 week 1. I mean...
Yeah, I believe they're all divisional games, right? Most of them are.
Yeah.
There's a lot of divisional games. So that tells me, and hopefully, we can get over what's going on in the world right now. We can get to football in September. But this tells me the NFL feels pretty confident about getting fans in the stands by September.
Right.
Because they put a lot of intrigue on that first week.
I mean, that or we also did get the alert from Shefty that they do have a backup Super Bowl date planned, so in case the season does get moved back. So
they put a lot of intrigue in that first week, so
right.
We'll see what happens. And I think that's what we're leaning towards, and I think we're all hoping that we can be ready to go by September.
For sure. Let's move on to week 2. We get a noon game against Indy at Indy. I also do think this should be a win, regardless if it's Jacoby Brissett or Phillip Rivers starting under center for them. It wouldn't surprise me if it's Jacoby, just because he's signed for the longer deal. Phillip's only a 1-year deal, but who do you think is day one center for Indy?
I mean, I think it's got to be Phillip Rivers. They paid him a lot of money. I'm a big Jacoby Brissett guy. I love Jacoby Brissett. I do think he's maybe a little rich price for a backup, but either or, it's gonna be a rich price. They got a lot of money tied up in that quarterback position. Frank Reich, the head coach there, I think he is a good fit for Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers is a turnover machine, though, and I never bet against the Vikings defense. I think we match up really good in this game.
Yeah, we had 7 turnovers.
7 turnovers
against the Chargers last year.
The Chargers last year. We all know Phillip Rivers is a turnover machine. I like our matchup there.
I like the matchup with the receivers because their best receiver is T.Y., and a lot of our corners are smaller, and I think can match up with him.
Yeah,
really, they ain't got. I mean, they got Doyle, but other than that, they're.
Yeah, for the first time in a long time, I think as Vikings fans, and we've been watching for a long time, we're gonna have a lot of young corners out on that field.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you go back to week 1, and Devontae Adams ain't gonna have anybody with much experience covering him either. Very interesting approach by the front office to go completely young on that side.
We could have 2 rookies starting, honestly, and it wouldn't surprise me.
It's crazy.
All right, let's get out of the week 3 here. We are at home against Tennessee, another noon game.
I got this one circled.
This, ladies and gentlemen, may be the fastest game ever played in NFL history.
This one
probably will be 60 rush attempts in this game at least. We all know what the Titans did in the playoffs. Literally. Here you go, Derek.
Here you go,
Derek.
Here you go.
Literally, he took them to where they got, and it was pretty much Derrick Henry, and apparently that gave them a reason to give Ryan Tannehill a bunch of money. But that's beside the point. I would be pretty skeptical on this matchup if it was on the road. Honestly, I'm a fan of it at home. I do think Henry still probably is going to run all over our defense, being we got a lot of changes going on in our front 4. I mean, our linebackers are the same, but that front 4 is pretty questionable for me right now yet. So I think it'll be tough to stop the run, but I do think that we will come out with the win against Tennessee.
I think we look at this, right, and they're basically the exact same team. Right? They enjoy running the football. They play good defense. Personally, I love what Mike Vrabel is doing in Tennessee with that team. I think he's done a phenomenal job bringing a lot of Patriot way, as they call it, to Tennessee. This game, like I said, is, and Mitchell said too, I don't know how many pass attempts there's going to be. I like this matchup for us. I do think we can force a couple turnovers, which might be the difference. This is a toss-up game for me. You'll get my prediction in my article that drops later tonight. But I really like this game, fans. If we're allowed to get to US Bank Stadium, if I got one game for you to go to, this is the one I would pick. Tennessee, week 3. It's a big one. All
right, week 4. We get another noon game. We're traveling to Houston to play Deshaun Watson and the DeAndre Hopkins-less Texans.
Houston's a tough team for me, man.
This is a win for me because the weakness of Houston is their receiving core, probably not.
Yeah,
at
probably
this point.
not. I would agree with that.
And I mean, our weakness at this point is probably defensive back. So
do they cancel each other out?
But I think the rest of our defense in stopping the run will be effective enough to beat Houston. I'm not scared of their defense. I mean, J.J. Watt's going to do what J.J. Watt does, but not only J.J. Watt is going to beat you.
Yeah.
And he's probably going up against O'Neal, our best offensive lineman.
Yeah, we might have a few changes up front, too, on the offensive side of the ball. We'll see what happens. I'm going to look at this whole 4-game slate that we just did and just kind of say that this 4-game slate, this first quarter of the season, really could set the tone for the entire season for the Vikings. We all know they have a young roster. We all know we paid the quarterback, regardless of what you think that move was or it happened. We paid the quarterback. We're expected to win. If the Vikings can get 3, and if they can get all 4 of them, I think we're set up for a pretty good year. If we go 2-2, like you could potentially see there could be a lot like last year. I don't think there'll be the drama of last year, but I think there'll be a lot of questions about what's going to happen for the remaining of the season. This 4-game stretch at the beginning, it's always big, but I think it's extra big for what the Vikings have done this offseason and all the changes they've had.
I mean, especially since you have your home game against the Packers right away.
Right off the bat. I mean, you got to get that win. You got to start on the right foot. You got to beat your division rival. The nice thing is there is only one NFC game in that first quarter, so if you're going to win one,
better be the first one.
It better be the first one. Let's move on to the second quarter here. And, of course, I think we all knew this was coming, and we know it every year on the schedule. We're going October 11th, Sunday night. Guess where? In Seattle for Russell Wilson and the Seahawks. Now, I look at this game, and I look at our past against the Seahawks. We've done overly well against the Seahawks. Now, it might not have translated to wins, but we've played them very tight. Again, it's not late in the year, which is nice. It's early. Obviously, we all know going to Seattle is tough, regardless of who they are and what type of team they have. As long as Russell Wilson's leading the charge there, they're going to be
They're going to have a shot to win any game.
I just don't like our matchup here. I think it's tight. But the young secondary, I think, gets exposed by Russell Wilson, and it's not a bad thing to lose in Seattle. We just don't seem to catch the breaks there sometimes, and that's just how it goes.
If DK Metcalf takes the next step too, they're going to be Seahawks are going to be if they got Lockett, DK, and if Carson runs the ball like he did last year, Seahawks are going to be a tough team. They're going to be tough out. I have us losing this game.
Yeah, I think it's tight, though. It's always tight. I think our defense is going to keep us in the game. It's just really hard to see, maybe not us scoring, but us stopping them enough to allow our offense to continue to score.
Last year, this game was kind of a shootout, wasn't it?
I think it got to be in a shootout 30? Late, I think.
Then both teams scored 30, though.
Yeah, I think it really turned into a shootout like that fourth quarter. It really started ramping up. Let's move on to another fun one and another odd team that can show up. Atlanta at home, Sunday noon on Fox. The Falcons back in US Bank Stadium. Obviously, we started last year with a win against them. I love Vikings in this matchup. I always do against Atlanta. I don't know why, but ever since that MVP run by Matt Ryan, he just is not the same quarterback. I know Kyle Shanahan's not there anymore. And
honestly, I think part of it is the Super Bowl loss.
yeah, I just don't think they ever got over it. They do have Todd Gurley now, which is an interesting fit in that offense. We all know Atlanta's talented with Julio Jones,
Calvin Ridley.
Matt Ryan. When he's on. He's really good. This is a good team, but U.S. Bank Stadium, you're going to show up.
I think their defense is pretty questionable too, which would be a big reason we win this.
Desmond Trufant, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
But I believe they didn't pick up Vic Beasley's option either.
No. But it would be there for this year.
Right.
But no, I think I do think that's a win at home.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Dalvin has a big day here against the Falcons. I mean, our receivers can too.
Yeah, I have a lot of faith in our receivers actually after the addition of Justin Jefferson and obviously Adam Thielen.
Should see a little bit more Irv this year as well.
Yeah, watch out for him, guys. He's going to have a massive year. Week 7. Let's go on to week 7. It's a bye week. I actually think I've heard a lot of people say it's a little bit early. We've had a lot of late bye weeks in the last few years. So I think this is kind of a good fit. You get off that nice six game stretch of decent to good teams. I believe they were all in the playoffs except for one.
Well, yeah, you got week 1 you're playing against. Week 1 you're playing against NFC Championship team. Week 2,
Indy wasn't in.
Right. Week 3 though, you're playing the AFC Championship team. I mean, Texans are a totally different team now.
So you're playing a lot of good teams. I think that's a good time for a break. And if you look at the back half of this schedule, it is brutal, the back half of this. Speaking of which, let's move on to the week after the bye. Week 8, November 1st, Lambeau Field. This is I think it's the earliest we've been done with the Packers in a long time.
Yeah, November 1st, we're done playing Green Bay.
Which means no cold weather. And you'll notice later in this schedule, the Vikings do not have a cold weather game.
Their coldest game is probably going to be the November, 16th game against Chicago? Monday night game?
Monday night.
Yep.
So I think this sets up good to get the Packers out of the way. Obviously, it's in Green Bay. You never really expect to go there and win just because it's a tough place to play. I'll let you carry this on a prediction. Like I said, I don't want to give away all my stuff for the article later, so I'll let you carry this one.
I would chalk us up with a loss here, but I would not be surprised if we won either. Like we mentioned earlier, Green Bay really didn't add anything offensively.
No, which is so weird.
Funchess just ain't. It ain't enough of a quality addition for me to.
They do have big receivers. I think our corners are relatively small, which I don't like.
But Aaron Jones always does well against us too. So
he does well against a lot of teams.
I have us losing in Green Bay.
All right. You want to take the next quarter? We're on to the third quarter here.
Week 9, we have a noon game against Detroit at home. Detroit has had an interesting offseason to me. They took a corner with the 3rd pick in the draft.
Jeff Okudah out of Ohio State.
Seems pretty high for a corner, but... And then they took a running back early 2nd round, and they already have carry-on. DeAndre
Swift.
So that... I don't think the Lions really got that much better either. I mean...
Yeah, a big thing for me when I always look at the Lions is Matthew Stafford going to be healthy?
Right.
Because if Matthew Stafford is healthy, I don't care what you think about the Lions and what they've been. You guys, Matthew Stafford is a really, really good quarterback. He should probably be in the Hall of Fame when he's all done. In my opinion, he probably won't be because he didn't win enough.
And he's just on...
He's just been on a bad team, but you guys,
But he's loyal. I mean, he stayed there. He's been there.
He is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL that nobody talks about. If he's healthy, we saw it last year when we played them in Detroit.
Yep.
He can take that offense up and down the field. Never write the Lions off on winning a game. The Vikings have a lot of success against Detroit, so I don't see it. But that's just always what I look at with Detroit.
I'm not going to have them losing at home here. Week 10, we've got the Monday night game against Chicago at 7:15 in Chicago. This, just because of...
Oh, God.
This is just a loss, okay? Chicago, weird shit happens in Chicago. Especially in prime time. We look embarrassing.
Even when we won there on prime time a couple years ago with Case Keenum, we didn't look very good.
I just cannot. Their defense is also very good. They did a very good job stopping Dalvin last year when we played them. It's going to be a tough game. They also got Robert Quinn to bolster that defense. I wouldn't be surprised if Foles is starting for them, honestly, and he scares me more than Trubisky. This is a loss for me just because of our history in Chicago, and that defense is going to be damn good.
I talk about, when I look at the schedule first, I see who we start with, who we end with, find the primetime games, and when do we have to go to Chicago. I hate, and Mitchell has to listen to me bitch about this all the time. I hate going to Chicago. We should win this game, hands down, because I think we're the better team. But, like Mitchell said, the ball just doesn't bounce. Mitchell Trubisky gets hurt last year, fumbles the ball, and the ball bounces all sorts of different ways. I've never seen it bounce before. And we don't recover the fumble, of course.
And then Chase Daniel comes in and
tears us up like we have no idea what we're doing. I hate this game so much. Like I said, we should win, and we all know how Chicago goes.
Yeah, they're not going to lie. At Chicago is a loss for me every year.
And then when we win, I'm pleasantly surprised. So, yeah, I'm with you on that. To me, every year I just mark it down because we just never get it done.
Moving on to Week 11, we got a tough game here. It's America's Game of the Week, 3:25 at home against the Cowboys.
Dallas Cowboys.
This is an interesting game.
This is an interesting team with everything they've done in the last couple of weeks.
Still no Dak extension. But they already have two very solid receivers. And Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, they just gave Cooper the extension too. And then they go draft CeeDee Lamb.
This is a good
and
team.
Zeke. That offensive line.
New coach Mike McCarthy.
I think the Cowboys come in here and give us our first home loss here.
I look at the Cowboys, and they made a lot of news, obviously, the last couple weeks with signing Andy Dalton and drafting CeeDee Lamb. I don't know why anybody would ever think that, this is my opinion, Andy Dalton will not be the starting quarterback in Dallas. I don't know where people got that assumption. Because there's nothing wrong with Andy Dalton's career. Absolutely nothing. He's had a very solid career. He's won a lot of games. But he's not Dak Prescott. He doesn't have the abilities Dak Prescott has. This team, they should always be better than they are. This is a toss-up game for me. Again, I'm not going to give you a prediction for the article later. But, this is a tough one. And they can show up and beat anybody, like a lot of teams can. But they're maybe the most talented team in the NFL. That just never seems to get over the hump. I do think Mike McCarthy is the perfect head coach for that franchise. I expect the Cowboys to have a good year, and who knows, maybe be representing the NFC in the NFC Championship game. I'm going to leave it at that. I think the Dallas Cowboys could go to the NFC Championship game.
Fair enough. Let's keep going to Week 12.
Week 12.
We've got
the Carolina Panthers and our old friend
Teddy B.
And I mean friend. I think
we both have personally met Teddy. We both have personally shooken Teddy's hand and the whole 9 yards. Teddy's amazing. I love Teddy. When he, leg, all that, everybody knows. It was one of those moments where you're like, there's no way. Like, this is, you set your phone down, you relook at it, make sure it says the same thing, make sure you read it right, and then you're like, wow.
I'll touch on Teddy B a little bit before we get into the game. I could not be happier for Teddy Bridgewater and the opportunity he is going to get in Carolina to be the starting quarterback like we thought he was going to be here for so many years. I think about Teddy Bridgewater's time in Minnesota, and I think a lot of people remember the playoff game against Seattle at TCF Bank Stadium, and a lot of people forget he drove us down there to get in position to win the game. We will not talk about what happened after that, but I think
a lot of cold beverages got drank. That's what happened.
If the events are the opposite, we are having a completely different discussion about what Teddy Bridgewater's projection was as a quarterback here in Minnesota. Unfortunately, we know what happened. A moment that sticks in my head is the San Diego preseason game, and in that first year in US Bank Stadium. And he took us on a drive in the preseason. I know you could talk about it was the preseason, it doesn't matter. But he made about 3 or 4 throws on one drive that made me think he's ready to take the next step. And then 2 days later, it all fell apart. We all remember that magical moment in US Bank Stadium against Cincinnati when we won the division in 2017, and he got back on the field. This is going to be an emotional day for a lot of people. I think for a lot of fans. I think for the front office. I think for Teddy. For everybody. Everyone is going to be emotional for this day. I think we're going to have some torn fans that want Teddy to be really successful in this game. This is a tough one. We'll get into the game here a little bit. I like what Carolina's doing. I don't think they're ready yet. But I like what they're doing. New head coach Matt Rule. I do think they are missing, obviously, Luke Kuechly, who retired. This team, they can sneak up on some people, I think.
Drafted a lot of defense.
Win all defense. Yeah. Because they addressed the offense via free agency. Right. Obviously with Teddy. I like what Carolina's doing. I don't think they're ready yet to compete for a playoff spot. But this is going to be one of those games that is emotional for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And when emotions get involved, anything can happen. What are your thoughts on Week 12, Carolina?
Honestly, I think for Teddy, it's almost a match made in heaven. Teddy likes to throw to running backs, and, well, would you look at that? He just probably landed himself with the best all-around running back in the game right now.
He got a Ferrari back there.
So I think that part of it that's a match made in heaven for Teddy, getting McCaffrey. As far as everything else, super young on defense. Receivers aren't the greatest.
DJ Moore, they drafted somebody too, didn't they?
Offensive line is They're coming here. I think this is going to be a lot for Teddy. There's probably, it's in US Bank. There's probably going to be Teddy chance even though he's playing on the other team. I think this game could be a lot for Teddy, or this could be where Teddy, balls out, shows us, hey, here I am. The 5-0 with the Saints while Breeze was hurt was not because I was on the Saints.
That 5-0 is the Teddy that we saw though here
right.
for a long time. That's why I said that it was so nice to see. Let's be honest. There's a lot of people in this world who thought Teddy Bridgewater was never going to play again.
Right.
And for him to go out there and go 5-0 with the Saints and be successful was I think we know we have a nice little rivalry with the Saints, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But I think everybody turned on the TV when the Saints played, as a Vikings fan, to see what Teddy Bridgewater was going to do. Because he's what is supposed to be here. I think you're right. I think this is just overwhelming for Teddy Bridgewater. And we'll see what happens. It can go either way to me. I do think we win, though, just because Carolina's not ready. And at this point, the Vikings should be pushing for the playoffs.
They tried to get rid of their receivers before the draft, actually. So, I mean, they were basically trying to go for a total rebuild other than McCaffrey, really. And, I mean, Teddy went 5-0 with the Saints, and, I mean, he had Kamara in the backfield. McCaffrey's a better Kamara, so I wouldn't be surprised to lose that game either.
Yeah, we're looking at a stretch here where the Vikings are at three straight home games.
Right.
They gotta sweep this. They have to. There's no,
especially moving it up. This is yours, but I already moved into it. Week 13, we were at home against Jacksonville, who seems to almost be in shambles.
Yeah, Minshew Mania is going to be nothing for us.
Well, I mean,
I don't think
they just cut Fournette, right?
Did they?
Or released him? I thought.
I didn't see that. I don't think so.
Or maybe it was declined as option.
Yeah, they did do that.
I think that's what it was.
They declined as option.
But then you had
Yannick Ngakoue.
Yeah, call out the owner's kid.
Yeah, this is an organization in shambles. I don't think we have to touch on this one very much.
I mean, when you got Fournette, who was he did ask for a trade though, right? They were trying to trade him.
Yeah, but they were trying to trade him. I'm not sure if he entirely asked for one or not, but
when you got
they're in shambles. I don't know what they're doing at quarterback. To be honest,
you signed Foles, and then you're like, no, not Foles, and
I don't know. This is an organization in shambles. I don't even want to spend time on this game, to be honest.
And it's at home. If we lose this game, we will. We don't. If we
lose this game, we're probably not having a good year.
No, probably.
So, if you want to be the playoff team, like I think we all think the Vikings can be, you have to win this game. Jacksonville's just not gonna be good. Pretty simple. Let's get to the last quarter here. And this is where it gets fun, right at the end of the year.
You got this one, or?
I'll take it. Minnesota, I believe, will be well represented at this game. Maybe myself included. We are headed to Tampa Bay to play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who we all know have had a whole new makeover this offseason to their team, obviously adding 6-time Super Bowl champ Tom Brady, trading for his buddy Rob Gronkowski, and having a really nice draft to really round out that team with their first-round pick was Tristan Wirfs out of Iowa.
That was him getting to them and them. Oh, man. That was,
I bet they ran to the podium to draft him. They added Minnesota safety and a person I got to talk to quite a bit, Antoine Winfield Jr. And they had some good other draft picks in there, along with another Minnesota kid, Tyler Johnson, who had a big year for the Gophers last year and shattered every record in the Minnesota record books. Listen, it's pretty simple. This Tampa Bay team has a chance to be really, really good with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. And they drafted a running back out of, I'm drawing a blank, Wake Forest, I believe. I'm drawing a blank on the name. but I know they drafted a running back.
Got Gronkowski out of retirement.
And I'm
Still
also
have
a fan
O.J.
of
Howard.
I'm also a fan of Ronald Jones
Right.
as well, who I think is. They have a nice, if you'll call it, Sony Michel, James White 1-2 punch there to allow Brady to kind of have success in what he did in New England. I hear a lot of people talking about, well, Bruce Arians doesn't really fit what Tom Brady can do anymore. Well, listen, Bruce Arians ain't stupid. He will let Tom Brady do whatever he wants. Tom Brady don't care if he has to throw it 40 yards or throw it 10 yards. And I do know one thing for sure. Those receivers can catch the ball. This team is going to be good, you
with
guys.
those two tight ends that, might kind of remind you of the Gronkowski-Hernandez era in New England.
Yeah, if they decide to keep O.J. Howard, I think they should.
I think O.J. is very good. Will be very good, I should say. A little bit. It's hard to have success with Jameis, I feel like. Well, I mean that in not a terrible way, because Jameis can throw you into a game just as easy he can throw you right out. I mean, I watched him. What game was it last year? I think he threw 3 picks on 3 straight drives.
Was that in St. Louis?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. He threw 3 straight picks on 3 drives, and then all of a sudden it's like
4 straight touchdowns.
Yeah. So, I mean, having some consistency with Tom, and if they go 2 tight end sets and just roll with their 2 receivers, Godwin and Evans.
Yeah, I think Tampa Bay can be... I think they're going to struggle early, just trying to get the kinks out, and we'll see what happens with
you're getting a guy out of retirement. You're getting a guy that was with the same team for...
And who knows what's going to happen with training camp and all that stuff too, right? So I think early in the season they might struggle, but by December 13th, I expect them to be firing on full cylinders. This is going to be a tough one. This one's going to be fun, though.
Yeah, this is a tough one, but
be a really good game.
In my lifetime, I don't think I've seen us beat Tom Brady.
We haven't beaten Tom Brady. Tom Brady's undefeated against the Vikings.
Well, there you have it, and I don't see why that changes here. If it was at home, I would say we have a little bit of hope, but...
Yeah, I would agree with you.
I don't think... Regardless of how that secondary progresses, I don't think they're getting a win in Tampa against Tom, Gronk, Mike Evans.
Yeah, all you Gopher fans, too, don't be going there to cheer for Tampa Bay. I mean, if I go, I hope Antoine and Tyler have a good game. But other than that, we can kick their ass. I don't really care.
Let's keep rolling.
Chicago, you got this one?
Yeah. December 20th, noon game at home. We get Chicago at home.
Final home game.
Right, yeah. Last 2 are on the road. I never know what to say against Chicago, honestly. Their defense is going to be so good this year. They didn't lose anybody.
I don't think if they did, they didn't lose much. The Vikings really struggle against teams who are strong up the middle because of our lack of strength up front with Pat Elflein.
Well, with the zone
Garrett
run
Bradbury
scheme.
And obviously Ezra Cleveland now. The matchup just doesn't fit for us to be good against Chicago, and that's the problem. We are a better team than Chicago. I will not dispute that with anybody. This should be a win at home.
Honestly, I think it might come down to who's starting for them at this point.
Yeah, and where they're at in their season. We'll see. I think this is a win pretty easily, actually.
Since we're talking about who's starting for them, who do you think starts for them? They just declined Trubisky's option. They brought Foles in.
I've been asked this a lot. And I've constantly pretty much changed my mind. Because I don't know. If I was saying today, I would think it's Mitchell Trubisky. And I think the leash is like this. It's not very long. If they get off on the wrong foot, they will pull the trigger in a heartbeat. Here's the reason why I say Mitchell Trubisky. You gave up way too much.
Oh.
You have to ride it out. You have to see what he has. If he falls on his face again early, I think you pull the plug. But other than that, you got to ride with him to start the year. I think by this point it'll be Nick Foles, though. To be honest.
You think that Chicago front office ain't over there looking at the guy in Kansas City at the same time saying, "Yeah, I think we should probably give Trubisky one more year and see
so
not make this look so bad."
Yeah, no, it does look bad to a lot of people.
Bad, it looks terrible.
But I do think also if we want to compare those two, it's almost unfair. I mean, how do I say this? I'm not saying they didn't screw up by not taking Patrick Mahomes, but Patrick Mahomes may be a completely different player.
With a different organization, right?
And Andy Reid was the perfect fit for Patrick Mahomes. And that's no disrespect to Patrick Mahomes' abilities at all. I'm not trying to do that. I just think comparing the two and saying they could have had him and they took him is almost unfair. And I do that in a lot of drafts. I just don't think it's fair to compare. But
different schemes, different offenses, yeah.
And it looks stupid. It's plain and simple. I'm not going to deny that. But I think this is a win at home in Chicago. And again, I'll say it again. If you want to be a playoff team, a good playoff team, you got to take care of business in your home.
In your home stadium as well. I would chalk it up as a win as well. I just would not be surprised if we lost.
No,
because I think Foles is starting at this point if he doesn't start the season.
He did to us last time.
And that defense didn't get worse. That defense scares me. They did a great job against Dalvin last year. Yeah. Let's move on to Week 16.
Short week.
Have our Thursday night game that's not on Thursday night. It is on Friday. It is on Christmas Day. Smack dab in the middle of your Christmas Day, just to make the family super happy. 3:30, we get the New Orleans Saints in the Superdome.
Yeah, what do you say about this Vikings and Saints little rival? I don't even know if it's little.
At this point, it's just we play them every year. We play them in the playoffs every year. Boom.
But this has become a fun rivalry.
Oh, absolutely.
To me, I have a buddy who lives up in Duluth who is a diehard Saints fan. And we go back and forth all the time. And he constantly hangs over my head that we may beat them other times in the playoffs, but they got the big one in 2009. Well, we're going to do it again.
Can't count it.
We're going to do it again. Christmas Day, like Mitchell said, smack dab in the middle of your Christmas, just to really twist the... I don't know. This is gonna be fun. It always is in New Orleans.
Christmas just got better.
Unless we lose.
Then you can take everything, all the presents back.
And Santa can come return those presents to wherever he got them from, because it really doesn't matter. This one's gonna be fun. Like I said, we do have the Saints number. I mean, that plain and simple. Since we've played them in any big game outside of 2009, we win.
Who's their first round pick?
The Saints?
Yeah. Was it a receiver?
No, it was
Didn't they trade?
I'm trying to blank on who it was. Talk about the game. I'll look it up.
I have us losing this game in the Superdome. I should be able to edit that out.
Yeah.
Even though I don't want to.
Yeah.
I knew it was going to happen because I kept feeling my foot getting tangled with it.
Yeah, is it still going?
Yeah.
Alright. And we're back.
Watch this. I'm going to make it look smooth. They won't even know we dropped it. Alright, and we're back after a quick bathroom break. But, yeah, I have us losing this game in the Superdome. Saints probably have a pretty bad taste in their mouth after the last 2 playoffs wins we'd had against them, you'd say? Probably, yeah. Good idea.
Oh, Casarowiz.
Offensive lineman. Guard, yep, that's right. But, yeah, this is a loss. This is a loss for me on Christmas Day, unfortunately. As much as I don't want it to be in the Superdome, Saints ain't happy with their last 2 playoff losses against us, and this could be if we have a good year, like I have us projected at 10-6 right now, so a playoff team. This could be a playoff seeding implication matchup here, so that changes things in a game. So, but like I said, this is a loss for me. If it's at home, it's a win by probably a field goal. Somebody wins in overtime or at the end of the regulation, because you know what? That's just what happens when we play the Saints.
Yeah, something funny has been down here in New Orleans
Lutz is kicking a 50-some yarder to win. That was regular season last year, wasn't it?
Did we play them in regular season last year?
Or was that 2 years ago?
2 years ago, I think. Then he kicked it to go to the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah. Well,
yeah.
Final week. Final week.
On the road.
On the road in Detroit, January 3rd, 2021. Crazy to talk about that.
We can get out of 2020 anytime.
Right. As long as everybody plays and this game matters, I would have us coming out with a win.
Yeah.
Detroit really doesn't have a home field advantage.
No.
They
don't really have anything.
Yeah, they get a couple fans that show up and say, "We love you, Matt Stafford," and come back Megatron, but that's about it.
That's it. Yeah, again, this is easy.
There should be a win. If we're a playoff team, this is a win.
If we're healthy and this game matters, we're going to win this game.
Noon game.
Yeah, so that's the Vikings first round 2020 schedule. Again, kind of recap. 3 primetime games at Chicago, at
all of them are on the road.
Seattle,
yeah,
at New Orleans Christmas Day, starting with Green Bay, ending in Detroit. Guys, really, it couldn't have played out any better. The schedule as a whole, I think. I understand it's tougher, but I think it played out really well. As we mentioned earlier, no cold weather games. That really helps. I believe everything is in a dome the first quarter of the year. Everything is in a dome the first quarter of the year. I don't actually think we're outside a lot other than Seattle, Green Bay.
No, we go to Tampa, which should be warm.
Might be raining.
Right.
So there's and the Vikings struggle on natural grass. I don't know why that is. Their defense just struggles. Being inside for a lot of these games is gonna help. Our linebackers love to move around, go sideline to sideline. I like this schedule as a whole. I think it's got a lot of intrigue in it, and it's got a lot of fun games. If I'm picking one game, like I said earlier, Tennessee. That's the one I'm going to. Tennessee and Carolina, obviously. What's one game that you're really looking forward to on the schedule?
I'll probably go a little bit off the radar. I won't say the Saints game. I mean, everybody kind of looks forward to that one, especially Christmas Day. I won't say Seattle because it's another primetime game. I'd have to say the Cowboys because I think it's really interesting on how that offense
is going to look.
But it's going to be, oh man, think of what McCarthy did with them wideouts in Green Bay when he was there. And now he's got Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and CeeDee Lamb. Not to mention he's got Ezekiel Elliott in the backfield. I think the Cowboys are going to be scary. I think this could be a year, like you said, that I wouldn't say make it to the NFC Championship game. As weird as this sounds, if Dak gets his extension before then, I think they might make it to the NFC Championship game. As weird as this sounds, because the guy literally said he can't live off of what they offered him.
Well, I guarantee that's not true.
Is that not what he said, though?
Yeah, I know.
Like, this man wants his money. This man wants to get paid.
And I'm going to say he should get his money.
As much as he's asking, I don't know. If that's what he gets, what do you think Mahomes gets then? Because I don't want to see that number.
I don't want to see it anyway.
If Dak gets what he wants above 40 mil.
Here's the thing. Let me ask you this. And I know we're kind of rambling here a little bit.
But that's the fun of it.
But would you take Dak Prescott or Kirk Cousins, or are they the same?
Dak, because he's more mobile.
Yeah. And obviously Kirk got his money. I'm not telling you that Dak deserves that money, because I don't think he's that kind of good. But that's the market price for a quarterback.
Right.
And that's the business of the NFL. Now is the coronavirus pandemic and all these things that are happening, if we have to redo this schedule, if we have to do all these things, that's going to affect the cap situation.
Right.
Because it's going to be a loss of money by the NFL.
Right.
The NFL is going to lose money if they have to move all this around. Does losing cap number affect what Jerry Jones and the Cowboys want to do? Does it affect Dak's asking price? There's just so many things that are out of Dak's control and out of our control in general that what can happen with them extending him. I think he's going to get it because I think they got a quarterback.
It's going to be tough for them, though, with the Amari extension.
The Zeke
extension.
They got a lot of money tied up. They're going to be a lot.
Their offensive line, except for who just retired, Frederick. Right? Yep.
They just took another Wisconsin kid, too. Center.
All right, let's hammer out a couple questions that we actually got in quick.
Yeah, we got some fan questions. Again, guys, we appreciate that. If you have any fan questions, please email us at solpodcast2020@gmail.com. Our goal of this podcast is to be interactive with you guys, because I enjoy that. I enjoy answering your questions. I know Mitchell enjoys it. On this podcast, guys, we're not going to agree a lot of the time.
No, we didn't. Honestly, we have some pretty heated exchanges at times. It's like Stephen A. Smith, Skip Bayless back in the day. So
I hope you guys enjoy this. So please, any questions, just send it to us, and we'll gladly answer it. Again, it is solpodcast2020@gmail.com, or you can message us on our Twitter page, which I believe is @Sooner Podcast, or you can message us on our Facebook page. It's Sooner or Later Podcast. Just check us out, give us a follow, do all those things. Send us your questions, we'll gladly answer them.
All right, let's fire away. All right, Chad, which rookie will have the biggest impact for the Vikings?
I'm going to give you... how am I going to do this? The Vikings are going to use a lot of rookies. I think that's pretty up.
How about we make this not easy on ourselves, and let's cross out the first round picks.
So we're taking out Jefferson.
Taking out Jefferson and Jeff. Yep.
Cam Dantzler. I think Cam Dantzler, how he was there in the third round is beyond me. I went back, watched some more tape of him. I know he ran a slow 40 at the combine. I don't think he's that slow. Listen, the guy gave up one touchdown in his career in the SEC. The SEC, you guys. And think about how many receivers this year, last year, next year, Jamar Chase. How many receivers are coming to the NFL to be really good players, and hopefully another really good one in Justin Jefferson? I think Cam Dantzler is going to maybe not shine, but I think shock a lot of people who just might not follow the draft or understand how impressive Cam Dantzler's college career was. I know I kind of stole your guy there.
No, I've actually watched quite a bit of film on Cam the last couple days. I was just watching some earlier before the podcast. He impresses me. He gets his head around the ball. If I had to honestly compare him to somebody, it'd be a man that just left Minnesota.
Xavier Rhodes?
Absolutely. He's physical, very handsy at times. There's a lot, when I was watching the film on him, there's a lot of plays that he has in the college that are going to get called pass interference in the NFL, and it's going to be a learning curve. He's very handsy, but he does one thing he does different than Xavier. He's good at turning around and getting his head to the ball. He had a great career performance against LSU. I believe he had 7 tackles. He allowed 2 catches on 4 targets for only 13 yards, and that's facing Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and an offense that had nearly every player.
That was unstoppable.
They had nearly every player either get drafted or signed by an NFL team. He had 7 tackles, a half a sack, which should have been a full sack because he got the forced fumble on that sack, and the ball was out before the other guy even got there. So should have been a full sack and a forced fumble, and broke up 2 passes against the number 1 ranked LSU offense.
Yeah, I'm really excited about Cam Dantzler. I'll be honest, I didn't watch a lot of him in the pre-draft. Went back and watched that LSU game and just watched other games and how he plays. I do think he has to put on a little bit of weight. I believe he's only like 185, so he's frail. Not frail, I should say, but he is small in weight. And I'm not saying he has
But he's 6'2".
Put on a lot of weight. He has to put on maybe 10 pounds or so. But I think he has a chance to be a really good corner. I think he's perfect for Mike Zimmer. I think Mike Zimmer hit a home run with his corners in Jeff Gladney and Cam Dantzler. That's my pick, Cam Dantzler.
I'll change my pick quick a little bit then. I'm going to go with James Lynch from out of Baylor. He can play basically anywhere on the D-line. In my film watching on him, very quick off the ball. He gets off the ball so fast. He's only 21. He just turned 21 in January. Young. John Randall just said earlier today, told Mike Zimmer, "You got my guy." That was the guy that stood out to him. So, 295. I believe I'm pretty sure he ran something in the 4.8 40s.
Yeah, James Lynch is going to be that guy. He's going to be a rotational player his first year. A lot like we've done with...
He could start on end, too, honestly.
Yeah, and these are it's a different scenario. I know he's versatile. A lot of people see him as the 3-tech.
His 40 was 5 flat.
A lot of people see him as a 3-tech, but he's going to be a lot of what we do with those young defensive linemen in the rotation early in their career. You look at Afadi Adedebo, who's probably going to start on the end this year with Danielle Hunter, unless something happens with Everson Griffin in the next month or so. You think about Ray Edwards. You think about even Jaleel Johnson. He's been a nice piece to our defensive line rotation. James Lynch is going to be in this rotation early and often in his NFL career. I think you're right. You can go read my draft grades on Viking Central. This whole draft class as a whole, the Vikings had to hit a home run. I think they hit it.
Right, yeah.
I really do. I think I projected that potentially 13 of the record-setting 15 draft picks make the roster. I think that was my prediction. Guys, there's a lot of talent in this class. We all know they're not all going to hit, but I think it has a good chance to be kind of what year was Teddy Bridgewater drafted? 11. It's kind of like that 2011 class when we brought in, I believe it was Teddy, Anthony Barr. I believe Stephon Diggs was in that class. Blair Walsh. There was a lot of nice players in that class. I think it has the potential to be a class like that.
One of the other questions was Vikings' strongest opponent this year and why. I feel like we kind of did a pretty good job of covering that throughout the schedule. You got Tampa Bay, New Orleans, Seattle, and the Cowboys up there. It's hard to say right now. I would say it's probably Tampa Bay, in my opinion.
That's who I would say as well.
Their offense is good. Their defense really started to get better at the end of last year. Devin White was a monster. But yeah, we kind of covered that question. Last one, and then we'll wrap it up. Who had the best offseason in the NFC North and why?
The best offseason. This is interesting. I think about this, and obviously, I think the Vikings have had a good offseason. Maybe not us with free agency, but with the draft and as a whole, the offseason was
But at
good.
the same time, we did some cap space clearing. We signed Kirk. We know what that situation's going to be.
Is there a Dalvin extension coming? There's all these things, right? If I had to say best offseason in the NFC North, man, I might go Chicago. Just because I think they got a guy to play quarterback when their other quarterback falls flat on his face. They got Robert Quinn.
Yeah, him on the other side of Khalil Mack.
They bolstered a defense that didn't need bolstering. I like what Chicago's done this offseason. If I had to rank them, I think it's really close. I think it's Chicago, Minnesota, Detroit, and I just don't like what Green Bay did.
I don't know what. I guess we'll see if it. The only way we know we'll know if Green Bay's offseason was good is 5-10 years from now, I guess.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Honestly, he can't hit the field for 3 years.
I think it was interesting that Green Bay tried to trade up with us.
Yeah. Well, we weren't going to give them that franchise.
Yeah, we're going to need a first and a first.
All right, I think that's it.
That is it for the first podcast we have. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. Honestly, email us. Let us know what we can do better, what we did good, what we didn't do good. Email us a topic that you'd like for us to talk about. I mean, we're really kind of open for anything at this point. And the main thing, email us. Tell us. I don't care if you tell us how shitty we did. We want to know. We want to get better. We want to, learn and figure this out and, get to where we wanted to be at some point. I'm looking at the screen, and this is way longer than we wanted it to be, but, I guess that's probably not a bad thing either.
Yeah, let us know, guys. We want to continue to do this podcast. Again, give us a follow on Twitter. I'll leave the Twitter handles and Facebook page and all those things in the description. Go read Mitchell's articles when Daily Fantasy starts up again on windaily.com. Check out my full schedule breakdown on Vikings Central. It should be up tomorrow afternoon, maybe tomorrow morning. We'll see what I do tonight. But we appreciate you guys listening. Give us any review you can.
Seriously, just tell us even how ugly we are. I don't care.
Everybody stay safe. Take care. Skol Vikings. Thanks for listening.
Peace. Oh shit, did it again. I pulled it closer though.